Hey everyone, this is Adam from WellPlayed, and during PAX Aus this year, I had the wonderful opportunity to sit down with Rob Davis, the campaign director on Ghost of Yōtei. Rob spoke about the studio's approach to storytelling, their focus on player freedom, and the unlikely inspiration that came from an Australian indie game. I had a great time chatting with Rob, and he gave some excellent insights into Ghost of Yōtei's development. So let's get straight into it.
Alrighty, well first off Rob, congratulations on the release of Ghost of Yōtei. I think I'm about 50 hours in now, still having a great time. Have you had a chance to kind of take a look at the critical reception that it's had and the player sentiment?
We're very happy.
Yeah.
And now I am watching far too much TikTok. Watching
good.
play. Yeah, the keys are the unrivaled over and over again.
Yeah.
Entirely too online right now.
Do you troll through all of the photo mode snaps as well?
Yeah, those are good too. I mean, by the way, the photo mode, everyone always does things you would never expect, and
It's
shots.
It's wasted.
It's so creative.
It's wasted so much of my time because I'm like, I get it just how I want it, and then I find the new slider, and I'm like, oh well, there goes another 10 minutes. Yeah, exactly. But it's great.
It's nice to be creative.
It is. It absolutely is. Jumping into my questions. So Jin Sakai, the protagonist of Ghost of Tsushima, has, I think, been cemented as a PlayStation icon. I loved him, but the team has decided to move away from his story and start a new story with Atsu. What went into that decision to leave Jin's story where it was and pick up with a new character?
I mean, I think we love origin stories because as a player, you get to go on the journey of learning a new character, exploring a new world. And very early on, I think Nate Fox, who's our creative director, comes from very theatrical background. He did all the writing for Sly, and he's terrific with all the narrative and story. He always wanted to tell a tale of vengeance.
Yeah.
And Jason Connell, who is he was the former art director of a lot of our games and also the creative director on Ghost of Tsushima. He loves other worlds.
Sure.
And so you kind of put this peanut butter and chocolate together of
Yeah.
what if we could tell a tale of vengeance in this lawless area of Hokkaido, and the tale of Atsu is born.
Definitely. And where did some of maybe the inspirations for Atsu's story come from? Because it is very different, just kind of diametrically opposed to what Jin's was. His the kicking off of his revenge story came very late in life, whereas hers was obviously very, very early. So were there any inspirations to draw from when it came to Atsu's character?
Yeah, actually, we are super big on samurai cinema.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Yojimbo is an iconic film. And when I joined the studio, I hadn't worked on Tsushima before. So I made this commitment to myself. I'll watch a different samurai movie every night. So Yojimbo was this really strong start point. But then there's all these other terrific stories about wandering mercenaries and wandering soul swords, like Lone Wolf and Cub series is really fantastic.
Sure.
And then even within manga or within anime, you have characters like Rurouni Kenshin, was surprisingly heartfelt. But Yojimbo was really the moment of, what if we could bring that to life? A really play character like that.
And you mentioned wandering mercenaries, and that kind of moves neatly into my next question of the exploration in Yōtei is it kind of feels like, I said in my review, that it's wandering without feeling lost. Why is that specific approach so important to the team, having it be less of being led and more wandering and discovering things for yourself?
Oh yeah, I mean, we definitely made a commitment to try and make the most free and open game Sucker Punch has ever made. And it's because those tales of mercenaries and soul swords, often moving from town to town, they often broke, by the way, and picking up a bounty or having to adapt on the fly themselves. There's a terrific book by Travis Heerman called Heart of the Ronin, which I would listen to every time I flew up to Seattle. And in those stories, the characters, they don't have tons of gear originally. They often just have a dog with them or their garb and maybe a single sword. So these types of emotions and feelings that you see in the classic tales are great opportunities for us to make you feel like you're really exploring the world. And one of the things that came up through the development was we had this idea of taking what you traditionally see in a shop, all the different gear and all the different items, and trying to spread them around the world as much as possible so that you really were rewarded and inspired to wander as well. But also from a narrative perspective, Atsu is back after 16 years.
Yeah.
A lot has changed, and the player has not been to Eizo as Atsu before. So you get this really nice moment of I am really playing as Atsu because she needs to explore to get intel and to find out information about the Yōtei seats, or even to see how things have changed in the world. And you as a player are also going through that too. So you get to really role play, as genuinely as possible as Atsu. Yeah.
You've kind of touched on, again, my next question. Your segues are fantastic. The Guiding Wind has come back from Tsushima, which I adored. It made me swear off waypoints from games. I wrote an article off the back of Ghost of Tsushima, and it's met with like a card-based mission system. Again, kind of play into the wandering without being lost. How do you make those activities that you find throughout the open world, because it's very much kind of a character in itself, how do you make those feel organic, like you're discovering them, but also worthwhile? Because it doesn't have the maybe typical checklist of an open world. So how do you play around with those kind of two notions?
Oh yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? You probably noticed this is probably one of the few games without a journal.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
As well. And that really came from a place of how cinematic and diegetic can we get the game to feel. But at a more functional level, I'm so thrilled with how the card system and the map work together, because you don't have to page back and forth anymore. So that's such a nice halo effect. It kind of proves if you believe in the goal, you might even stumble across some improvements and some conveniences as well. Generally speaking, we had this overarching goal of we're going to try and make the whole open world feel like everything's handcrafted, everything's hand-touched, and it all has a place in the world. No empty calories.
Yeah.
So it has to contribute to Atsu, it has to contribute to one of the villains and their role in the world, or it has to contribute to Japanese culture or tone a little bit. And if we do those, then rewarding exploration is easy because the content itself and the stories that you find are exciting within themselves. And then as we start to layer in the curiosity of different elements in the world, or interesting sights that you might see on the horizon, hopefully you trust the game values your time and shows you as a player. So there was a lot of opportunities along the way to say, should we put more markers on this? Should we make it more obvious? But in the end, we took a huge step back and said, no, we trust that players are intelligent. We trust that players are curious. We trust that our stories are strong. We trust that players will love Atsu. And we just said, we're going to trust that. We're going to trust the players.
Sure. Absolutely.
So we went for a much more organic and much more free open world. And it's really cool to see how much people are getting that.
Yeah, definitely. And with the open world being maybe a bit more free-flowing, so it is the mission structure. So it's a little bit more player-driven, gives the players a little bit more choice. What are some of the difficulties and benefits that come with that approach to storytelling, where it's a little less guided and a little more open and free form?
Yeah, I mean, the clear benefit is it makes you feel like a real wandering mercenary, right? We had a few discussions across the course of the project where we wondered, okay, well, what if we did lock the different tales of the Oni and the tale of the Kitsune more linearly? And we were really allergic to that idea because it cheapened the feeling of being a wandering merc. And as a player, you get to choose your vengeance target, which is a huge amount of freedom.
Yeah.
And quite novel as well, actually. And then we had the idea of, well, we could lock out certain missions if the characters are arguing with each other or having different spats or emotional turmoils, which is so important. I mean, humans do not just go on adventures together. They have real personal issues and differences on how they want to tackle the problems in front of us. No spoilers,
of course.
And then the third idea was, well, if we make each tale of the Oni, the tale of the Kitsune, dedicated to one of the key characters, we can kind of have it all.
Yeah.
We can let players explore in different areas at their own world. Hey, they may even go back and forth between these chapters, which is a new concept for us. And better still, each one will feel like its own self-contained, almost season of a TV show.
Yeah.
Which tells a different part of Atsu's vengeance quest, her struggles, her adventure with the characters. And that was the commitment we ended up making. We're going to let you choose any in any order. We're not going to let you play them out of order if you want. We're going to let you bounce between them if you want. And to do that, we'll make each one feel like it's a meaningful story of its own.
Amazing. And with that, Atsu does change quite dramatically from the start of the game where she starts off and where she ends. And her attitude definitely shifts and changes with kind of story revelations and things that are thrust upon her. How difficult is it to tailor open world interactions with that kind of storytelling where she does have these, dramatic changes in ideology, but then if she talks to a vendor, it might flip back to kind of a more passive tone of speak? How difficult is it to kind of tailor that?
Well, so the game is kind of architected like a diamond. It has a strong start point for Atsu as the Onryo this time, and then it goes extremely wide in the middle, like Utobi, and it comes together for a satisfying conclusion. So all through that middle chapter, we have to honor the tale of Atsu, we have to honor the player, and we have to honor the state of the world. So we end up writing conditional dialogue that still feels like Atsu in the moment, but if there's a key thing that's happened or a key choice that you've made as a player, we're actually subbing some different lines, some different alternates, because we never want you to feel like the choices that you or Atsu made were not genuine and not recognized by the world. So yeah, I mean, it's more work, but we value the player's narrative experience and Atsu's journey so highly that it's absolutely worth it for us.
Definitely. And with the side content of the game, I definitely felt through my playthrough that it didn't so much feel as side content as like a diversion. It was still part of the main narrative, but maybe just a little bit off to the side, the periphery. How difficult is it to balance making side content feel worthwhile, but then it's not required reading for players who do just want to go directly through the main story? So people aren't missing out, but then the people who do want to interact with it feel like it is worthwhile.
I mean, if we do the job really well, it shouldn't feel like side content at all, right? It should feel like world content. It should all feel like it's part of the greater textural journey with a big...
Yeah, like the senseis, for instance, like interacting with them, it very much felt like part of the narrative, but could be side content. But yeah, I could see if you did just want to mainline it, you might feel like you're missing out. So yeah, it would be an odd balance to kind of hit, I would imagine.
We've gone back and forth on this so much over the last few years, and in the end, it really comes down to trust the player.
Yeah.
And we know players like our characters and that our weapons are exciting. And rather than railroading players through certain experiences, we're just going to try and inspire them.
Sure.
I'm going to try and make sure that things look curious and interesting and hopefully majestic in some cases. And because Atsu is a wanderer, and because the player is also new to the world, our goal is to inspire you to investigate the world and to learn more by doing.
Sure.
And one nice side effect of this is it really takes out the amount of tutorials.
Yes.
Again.
Yeah.
As well, so that when you're with a sensei character, it's much more fun to make it an adventure.
Sure.
The new character than it is to make it a pop-up.
Yes.
Spree.
Sure. And a lot of the smaller content or the side activities like the hot springs and the bamboo stacks came back from Tsushima, but we did see some new ones in the Wolf Den, as well as Atsu painting, which I love any use of the touchpad, so I thought that was fantastic. Were there any activities that you left on the cutting room floor that you thought were particularly interesting that you might, you wish were explored a little deeper?
No, I think we really try to make sure that something's going in the game. It honors Atsu and honors the fantasy of being a wandering merc. I will shout out though, when no spoilers, but when you're with the wolf sometimes, especially since we're at PAX Aus, whenever the wolf distracts people running by, we call that Untitled Goose Game.
Amazing. Amazing.
So
Shout out to an Aussie dev. That's great. We love it.
So a little inspired by Goose Game.
Incredible.
Causing trouble as it runs through.
You would never in a million years think that Goose Game would inspire a game like this, but that's fantastic.
I mean, everyone is inspired by creativity, and Goose Game is super creative.
It certainly is.
No, I'm super duper happy with the mini games that we added to this game, and they bridge the gap between narrative and gameplay. And you probably notice some of them even feature little moments of Atsu's parents.
Yes.
And really nice to be able to include those. And it's amazing to me how much the voice performances while you're playing the mini games can make it feel like an overall experience.
Sure.
So there's a few online I've seen people talking about where they've hit even harder
Yeah.
than expected, and that's super satisfying. So I'm really happy with the ones we ended up in the game, not just from a functional perspective, but also how much you get a tiny little nugget of Atsu information in some of them.
There's something about the painting that really sticks with me. I really love that. The last question I have for you is in relation to the moments when Atsu returns home and you can switch between present day and the past when she was a child. The player is given the freedom to return to her home whenever they like, whether upgrading a sword or whatever it may be. But there is some very pertinent character interactions, and it kind of deepens her character quite a bit. But they're not forced to do it. There's not, a pop-up that says, make sure you return home, you have something to do. Was there consideration to make that a required thing, or you purposefully left it to make sure that if they ran into it, they ran into it?
Players are interested in all kinds of things in this game.
Sure.
I mean, I genuinely hope players are interested in Atsu and her personal revenge quest, and also Atsu as a human. So about maybe a year and a half from the end of the project, we really got to see how Erika's performance was shaping Atsu. I mean, I've been watching Atsu grow up live in front of me for 4 years now, and there was a key moment where we realized, okay, this homestead and the surrounding areas, this is not just the Yōtei grasslands. This is her home. This is where she's returning after 16 years. And so we actually added some of those memories to the game.
Okay, cool.
And we only get so many opportunities to do this on a game where we put our thumb on the scale and say, no, this is a big opportunity. But Erika's performance had so much warmth and human compassion behind Atsu. I mean, we always wanted her to be like very confident, very charming, very out for vengeance, and of course, somewhat heartwarming as well. But there's a layer to her performance that was very inspiring. And so we saw the opportunity to let players engage through nonlinear content and understand Atsu more as a human, not just as an honorary out for vengeance, but also as someone who used to live here, who knew characters in the past, who's had family memories here. I think we've all gone back to our high school or hometown, and it's a very human emotion. So Erika really brought that to the performance, and it inspired us to say, okay, there's something very personal here about coming home. How can we invest in it, and how can we make sure that players have the opportunity? And I think if we force it, it just would not feel quite as special, maybe a little artificial. We trust that players will be interested in understanding non-Atsu just as an honorio, as a human being.
They certainly should. There are definitely some great moments to be had there. Thank you so much for your time, Rob. Again, congratulations on the game. It is absolutely superb. I love it.
Thanks for playing. Super appreciate it. Untitled Goose Game. I mean, Ghost of Yōtei out October 2nd. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
And there we have it. A huge thank you to PlayStation, Sucker Punch Productions, and of course Rob himself for having a chat with us. Keep an eye on WellPlayed for any future content, and we'll see you next time.